What's up, everybody? Welcome to Friday night from the forum. Boy, do I got a crew with me in the house tonight. Pumped. What's up, everybody? How's it going?
We're here. It's Friday night. Let's party, man.
Who's ready for these conference championship games?
Man, it's going to be crazy. We only got football on Sunday. I want some Saturday football, too. They should have gave us one game each day just to –
what I thought it would be.
Or you have the national championship on Saturday, the conference championship on Sunday. I think, like, if I was the president and, like, it's like, how do you solve all the easy problems? The first thing that I would address is having to work the day after the national championship and after the Super Bowl. Like, who would hate you after that? Nobody.
Feels like it would be just low-hanging fruit. You'd be the most popular president of all time. In fact,
yeah, you knock out that. You knock out daylight savings. Like, all the easy stuff that's like, yeah, just check the box. And then it's like, you were the most productive president in history. You got so much.
You make the day after Halloween a holiday, too. You've got my vote. I don't even need to know the rest of you.
Hey, when I lived in Japan, dude, the Super Bowl was on a Monday. So instead of it being Sunday night, it was on Monday morning, and we actually had that day off. They gave everybody the day off. It was like a family fun day, and it was for the Super Bowl, and they had a big parties for it. It was pretty sweet.
That's awesome.
Okay. Family fun day. Hey, Junior, Daddy's getting really drunk today. Family fun day.
Well, as you know, we're getting into these conference championships, and we got some big matchups. I feel like on one side you got what you expected, right? Like, I think we expected a Bills-Chiefs conference championship there, and then on the other side you've got, Eagles. I think we expected to potentially be here, and then you got the surprise. You got the Commanders and Jaden Daniels and who has absolutely been killing it for a rookie. And I said, you guys know I'm a diehard Arkansas Razorbacks fan, and for years I watched him come in. I remember watching Arkansas was up 3 touchdowns. Jaden Daniels came in at halftime and led LSU to the dub. Like, he is a baller. He is a gamer. I think he's got everybody excited. I think he's approaching that, touted, like, could he be a generational talent type player? And I don't know about you, but I find myself, like, kind of rooting for the Commanders to pull this thing off. I mean, is anybody in the same corner?
I mean, how could you not? Philly hates Santa Claus. The Chiefs are the Chiefs. Like, the Bills, like, I feel like America's dream is, like, Bills Commanders. And then, like, whatever happens, like, who does God hate more? Like, that's what you find out in that game.
Funny side story, by the way. I'm staying, got my different background this week. So I'm actually staying with Haibo and his wife in Chicago. We're doing some work on Smashup, and I brought up the Santa Claus thing to poke fun at him, and his wife didn't know the story, and he was like going down, just saying, hey, you don't understand, it wasn't actually Santa, it was a drunk fan who was like running on to the field, interrupting play. So I don't know if that makes it better or worse, but you got to know the whole history here, apparently.
True.
So we got a few people popping in. Albert, what's up, fellas? Thanks, Albert. Samwise over on Twitter, my guy, what's up? Thanks for tuning in. You guys are welcome to drop your questions in the chat. But as you know, we have been running the Fantasy Sports Advice Network Playoff Challenge. Over $2,500 in prize money up for grabs, and it is absolutely free. And it is brought to you by the guy below me, Chris Hauck and Smashup Fantasy Sports. And man, it has been a ride. It has been fun. It is the last week that you could potentially qualify for the championships. And, I've been having a blast, Chris. Maybe tell the viewers for a second a little bit about the platform and kind of what you guys bring. And then, we're going to get into it. We're going to get into some lineups. We're going to have some fun. Sweet. I know that JC, I talked to him yesterday, or it was a few days ago, and he was like, power-ups? I saw the cards, but I didn't. And there's been quite a few people, I think, that set DFS lineups that didn't set cards or power-ups, so maybe just let us know a little bit about it.
Yeah, so essentially, we want to do something that felt a little different. But like, there's a lot of sites out there that were the same. Most of the free sites too are essentially just very traditional fantasy, and I think we're getting a bit bored. So we look for what are some ways we kind of like mix things up. And one of those you see in the games here are these smash cards, which are essentially power ups. The only reason I get a little nervous with the term power ups, I think some people hear that and they picture something that's like luck based, like, oh, Mario, I hit a box, I get a power up, and I randomly get 30 points. I don't want that because I want fantasy to be skill based. So to be clear, as you guys will see when we go through some lineups here, all these cards are skill based. It's really about, do you know the game? Do you know the matchups? And therefore, like, do I want to play a card on my quarterback so I get 2 times the rushing yards and rushing touchdown points? Do I think the kicker, kicking in the wins? I want to play a card where I get points if he misses a field goal. A million cards like that, we'll kind of go through them. So that's kind of it, right? You set a lineup, you get to set your power ups, use a salary cap for both. So again, the title said absolutely free. No entry fees. It's not like pay to win. You're not buying like card packs. You're just coming out here using your strategy, trying to find some ways to show you know the game better, and you're the best fantasy player.
Well, I know that JC and them over at the sports affiliation are absolutely in on DFS. So I'm really excited to hear some of his top player picks going into this week. So we're going to get cracking. I'm going to pull up. This is Smashup Fantasy Sports Playoff Challenge. If you aren't in, you can go enter. It is scrolling down at the bottom, playoff.ffadvice.com. And, we've got a lineup to set. So, JC, if there was anybody, like if you had to build your roster around somebody that you thought, it could be any position that you thought was going to be the most points on the week, who is that centerpiece?
It's probably going to be It's either going to be Saquon. I mean, I'm actually going to be building on in that game is what I'm going to build. I mean, it would be Saquon, Jaden. Like that's probably what the 2 people that I would build my team around, and I would probably go from there. And I think you can find some players that are kind of lower, like a Curtis Samuel, maybe hit on somebody like that.
So let's roll with it. Let's take those 2 pieces as our pinnacles here. We got Saquon, we got Jaden Daniels.
I think you can, like, even with a tight end, like you can go down and probably get like an Ertz. Like a lot of people will probably be playing Goddard. Goddard might be hurt a little bit. I mean, Kincaid, and it's so hard to. I mean, if you're looking for consistency, I mean, Ertz, Saquon, Jaden. That's like the most consistent you can be. Or if you want to go with a different stack, you could do Jaden. And I mean, shoot, a lot of people might go McLaurin this week. You could go with is it De'Ami Brown? I mean, he's been pretty consistent too. I mean, it's.
Well, I mean, let's start working with this. Let's start working with the top picks. We got Big Draft Energy popping in. Hola, solid legends here. Appreciate you for tuning in, my friend. So we got Jaden Daniels, we got McLaurin and Ertz. So we've already got a pretty good, commanders group here, which makes me kind of lean like when you get into the cards. So you have your players here, you have your cards over here. You got your player budget, and then you've got your card budget. So in cards, like automatically, Chris, and you may be kind of leaning the same way. Like I'm thinking maybe this ride or die, where all non-quarterback players in your lineup but playing for the same team as your quarterback get a 1.25 multiplier to their score.
Yeah.
Are we leaning that in this roster? Can we fill out with some more commanders?
Yeah, I think you could even get Brian Robinson in there too if you wanted to. Like, I think the team's going to score a lot. And I honestly think if you wanted to, you could even put in Eagles kicker just because I think they're going to be kicking. Dude, he's been so consistent too at kicking. Jake Elliott?
Yeah. Let's see here. Oh, let me take Zane Gonzalez out.
I mean, I don't hate Gonzalez either, but I just don't – I don't know, man. I don't see them kicking a lot. I could see Eagles kick. I think I could see them scoring and kicking. I think they're going to do whatever they can to score because I feel like the way that the Commanders have been playing has just been score, play hard defense. I mean,
So Big Draft Energy said AJ Brown goes off historically against Philly and Zacchaeus. So let's just see what that looks like. Let's say we throw in AJ Brown in here. Let's say for our flex spot, we go
Can
down
you
and
do
we
the
grab.
defense first, just so we can see what kind of money we have going with? Because you only have 2 players left, your flex and your defense. So, like, realistically, you're not going to drop $4,000 on your defense.
Which defense we want? Buffalo? Philly?
I honestly just might go all the way down and go
I might not even play a defense this week.
Washington.
I feel like Philly would be a tough one to play if you're stacking Washington, because if your players go off, you're just going to kill your defense.
I think you just play Washington. I'm telling you, I feel like, I don't know, man. I think what's going to happen is, like, a lot of people, you're going to see a lot of people play Jalen Hurts, but right, everyone said Jalen had a great game. Last week, he put up 15 points. He had the rushing touchdown. I think he threw for 125 yards. It was like not.
What do you think his knee is looking like? Because he finished the game, but he didn't look good.
Yeah, exactly. And you don't really know if he makes it halfway through. I mean, obviously he's going to play. You're not going to not play as a starter.
Right, and he's not on the injury report either.
So you got Big Draft Energy coming in. He said, no Cosme. I really like Jalen Carter to feast this week, but let's go with the Washington pick, and we can kind of play with it because we still have $1,900 there with playing Washington as the defense. So you could go into this flex spot and let's say we take Zacchaeus out and we look. I mean, we can get all the way up to like a Devonta Smith. Or a Khalil Shakir, Kareem Hunt, Xavier Worthy.
Is there a way that we can figure out? We might have to maybe go to a smaller kicker maybe and throw Kelsey in there for $200. I mean, I might be willing to go on a different route or kicker to get Kelsey.
I don't think it would be enough money. You're probably going to have to drop like Brian Robinson.
If you went from Robinson to Eckler,
I mean, you can honestly, if you wanted to, get rid of Ertz, put in Kelsey, see what you can do at that point, and see who you can get at flex. I mean, I just think that, Ertz is going to get you maybe like 12 to 15 points, which I'm like,
so something to keep in mind with this format.
Like 20.
Something to keep in mind with this format. It's standard scoring.
I think I was looking at.
What's up, Jerry? Thanks for tuning in, my friend. So
yeah, I think Ertz catches a touchdown. I also think Kelsey catches a touchdown. So I mean, if at that point it's more about how can you build your lineup around that. I mean, obviously Kelsey's going to probably be your focal point in that offense.
So do you think AJ Brown does any better than do you think he's that much better than Devonta Smith, or can we downgrade from AJ to Devonta?
Well, he didn't get to read his book last week because of the snow.
Okay. Let's mess with that a little bit and see. So we go Devonta. Then in our flex, that opens us up for AJ Brown or even all the way up to a James Cook. Are we interested in Cook against Kansas City?
They gave up 150 yards on the ground last week.
I don't hate James Cook either, man.
He's the focal point of the Buffalo offense.
I think this is going to be a ground and pound kind of game. I think you're going to see a lot of defense. You're going to see a lot of rushing. You're going to probably see Josh Allen run. If you looked back at that game too, Josh Allen didn't even put up massive points. I mean, he had 2 rushing touchdowns. I think he had about 120 yards passing too. It was not that much.
So, Chris, if you're looking at this lineup, right? What cards are immediately popping up in your head that you want to kind of highlight in this game?
Yeah, and I think you said the main one, which is ride or die. Like, you've got so many commanders that for the price of the card, just to clarify, when we say price again, just not pay to win, so you're not paying for the cards, just come out of your salary cap. So for the budget, I think it's a pretty efficient card here. Otherwise, it really just comes down to if you think – so if you're doing this, you think that the Redskins are going to put up a bunch of points. So if the Redskins are going to put up a bunch of points, the focal point is probably Jaden. So I'm maybe thinking about putting a card on Jaden, maybe thinking about putting a card on even like the receiver I think is going to get the points. And if I'm trying to win a tournament, I'm kind of trying to go all in on a combination here.
So
Like
if you're
think-
going to play a card on Jalen, I know for me, we've got some of these big ones down here, 2 times multiplier. I like Mr.
What's
That's the Jaden Daniels card. It hit last week.
250 yards passing and at least 20 rushing yards, and the card brings you 30 additional points on his score.
But the tough part about this is cards like this, you get the 30 points, but it's an all or nothing. When the multipliers, you may not hit 30 points, but if you don't hit the threshold, you still might get 15, 20. So it's
you've also got like this Hail Mary card. If your quarterback completes a throw of 50 yards or more, like a big De'Ami Brown boom, right? Or something like that deep.
McLaurin goes long.
Then the card's worth 30 points and you save, 5 it's really the same cost. So I really think, it comes in that, do you think it's going to be more, do you think he can get to the 250 yards passing? I think the 20 yards rushing is a given. I think against that Eagles secondary, do you think he can get to 250 yards passing?
In December, he went for 258, and that was the game he put up 5 touchdowns against them. So, he's going to be right around there. In the playoffs, he's thrown for 268, 299, but Tampa Bay and Detroit, those secondaries are like child's play compared to Philly. So it's a big swing that you're going to take if you're going to play this.
The other option you have here that a lot of players are trying to take advantage of during the season, especially in like weekly tournaments where it's kind of all or nothing. They want those tough spots, was trying to pair them, right? So you've got here Daniels, you've got McLaurin. So one of the things you could do is you can play Hail Mary on Daniels. You can play Speed Demon, which is the receiver version on McLaurin. And if they connect, or on De'Ami, right? Whoever you think he's going to throw that long pass to. And if it hits, you're likely going to hit both cards. Now, technically, the receiving card is only 40 yards. So it's possible it's a 40-yard catch and you just get one, not the other. But if they complete a bomb, you could have one big play that gives you 60 points.
So we don't have the ability or the budget to get both of those cards in if we're playing the ride or die. So do we like the 60-point proposition of Jaden Daniels to McLaurin on a 50-yard reception for, or I think for the wide receiver, it's it's a 40-yard reception. So do we like them enough for a 40-yard reception to basically take out something that's projected to give us 11-point bonus for something that could give us 30? Do we believe that reception will happen?
I don't feel that confident on the long bomb on that secondary. His average passing completion against them was 6.6 yards per completion.
Yeah, I think you're really getting lucky. Like last week, I'm not saying it's luck. There's a lot of skill within it, but with especially with Terry, he had to break a couple tackles, make some people miss, and to get it into that long ass run. So
that touchdown was 58 yards, so it wasn't much beyond what that was.
So you gotta, it's definitely risque.
I think if you're going for that, like out of those cards, I think the quote-unquote easiest one is the 30-yard rush for Saquon. I feel like he does that every week.
Yeah, I could see that happening, man. I think Saquon has a big game. That's why I kind of said I'm focusing around him. If I can. So
let's go to that running back. Let's look at Saquon. And I've seen people really stack on players like
what's giving Vulture, because if you're playing, I'm gonna tell you right now, if you're playing Ray Davis, I'm playing that one.
Yeah, definitely.
If that's one where you get points for what does it say?
You get double for point touchdowns, half for your yards.
Let's see. Yeah. So let me go to that one. That was.
If you have a flex player, that might even be good for Saquon, no? Because he could score 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, but then if he runs for 200 yards, you're only getting 10 points.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, I think the Ray Davis one's good, right? Or even Ty Johnson, right? You really want them the guy who may get
Davis, man. I'm telling you right now, when they get within the 10 or even the 5, it's Davis. Like literally, they go to him. You're like, what the fuck? That's the worst thing about James Cook.
The one that comes to mind for me for those rotational pieces, there's a card that if they have less than 30 offensive snaps, roll the dice. They get a 3 times multiplier. like to me, that would be like a great Ray Davis card.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
Although, you know what's crazy? James Cook has actually been under 30 snaps a surprising amount of times this season.
Yeah.
Him and David Montgomery, Chase Brown early in the season was like the king of that card. And then Montgomery and James Cook have been dominating. You know, sometimes they're over, right? Sometimes you get nothing.
Yeah, they definitely flirt around that number. It's like you guys knew this was gonna like be tricky for people to decide.
They knew about Smashup. They knew what the line was. The other thing is like I really like when it comes to Saquon. This is a card that I've really found valuable for him. Bruising bell cow. So that is you get each rushing attempt for your running back is worth 1 point. We've seen pretty regularly, 20 plus attempts per game. So, like that card to me automatically equals a 20-point bonus on top of Saquon. So if you wanted to like really power Saquon, or even if you wanted to kind of play it safe, you could play that card alongside him and then still be able to power up, like even do that. If we take out Ride or Die, we could actually fit in what was the other one that we like, the Unstoppable Freight Train, a rush of 30 yards or more. And then we've got a potential take on him at 47 plus 30 if he has that run. So 77 points just from Saquon if both those things happen.
I can see it happening.
One thing worth taking up here too is just strategy, right? So if you have some listeners who are already playing, they're trying to get in the top 5 to qualify for, I think it's like top 5 in a given week, or it was a top 10, I think, overall in the standings.
Yeah,
right. Make it that Super Bowl showdown. Look, if you're someone who's close to the top 10 in the standings, you want to play a little bit safer, Ride or Die. I think Bruising Bell Cow works for either kind of a build. Like those, like I want to get those guaranteed points. I think is really good because you want to finish top 10. If you're someone where you're like, man, I'm behind the standings and I need to finish top 5 this week, just like normal DFS, you want to shoot for variance. So the idea of like Ride or Die, stable 10 to 15 points, or I can do something like a Hail Mary or an Unstoppable Freight Train. It is all or nothing, but if I hit, that's the kind of card that can push me to the top of the leaderboard.
100%. So, this is pretty good. We still got 3,000 left. If we powered up Saquon, we could even go even more on Saquon and do this, 80 rushing yards, 40 receiving yards, or just starting running back at 3,000, which is a 1.5% multiplier. So if he scores 20 points, he's going to actually get 30 points.
Starting running back.
See, my thing though is, so if he scores 20, the bonus that you're getting from that is 10 points. Yeah. I feel like you can probably get more points from other cards here.
Yeah. It's definitely the scenario.
I'm also still bitter about burnt ends and the 5 freaking turnovers from the Lions last week, because I probably would have been top 5 because they should have scored 35 points last week.
Dude, I freaking love it. Love it. All right, so we're gonna get in here and we're gonna build another lineup. Chris, you being the one of the great minds behind Smashup Sports, let's you give us a lineup here, maybe some power ups that you really like this week. I think that the consensus thing that I've got from a lot of people was that a lot of the players are really affordable. Like you can really stack your roster with some good players, but some of the standard ways that we've played, like with the hellacious halfbacks and running like a large running back team, aren't as big of a deal this week because you don't really have 3 like knock it out of the park running backs, to do that with. So I'd be interested, as you've kind of looked at it, without of course giving us all your secrets, but what you're thinking this week.
Man, I've been a big hellacious halfbacks guy, but you're right. There's just not 3. For that card to work, you need 3 running backs that knock it out of the park because it does take down your quarterback a bit. So I think for me, I've tried a couple different lineups, and I'm actually going to riff a little bit on something. I haven't really fallen in love with a single one. I think for me, I'd want to get a little bit ballsier this week. So I think I want to try to figure out what are the 2 teams I think are going to win. I think I might go for that V for victory card.
Ooh.
And V for victory gives you a bonus on any player whose team wins, and it gives you a bit of a negative if the team loses. So my picks for this week, ultimately, I think it's going to be Philadelphia and the Bills. So I'm wondering if I can make a team that essentially is a mix of those two. Will allow me to do V for victory, and I'd probably, like you were saying, then pile on a bit more on either Allen or Saquon. So let's start off maybe with Josh Allen. We can see what we can afford here, but let's start with Josh.
All right.
I think he runs a lot. I think that the Chiefs defense is pretty good. Tries to take away some of the receivers. I think he gets a few more running yards. Absolutely Saquon. No, he can do this build, not take Saquon. May run into some salary cap problems. Let's take James Cook. I may actually go for what you're saying in the flex. We'll see. Let's get there. Wide receiver. I'm going to start big. I'm going to start an A.J. Brown, but I know I got to take someone cheaper too. So maybe go for a Keon Coleman.
Okay.
Shakir might be more consistent, but Coleman's had some big games, some big plays, particularly in the red zone.
It's pretty cheap too.
Yeah, so I like him as sort of a value receiver this week. I want to do the thing where let's go for defense and kicker now, so we can figure out what else we can still afford. Defense, man, 50-50 here. Let's go with that. Let's go with the Bills defense to save some money. We might come back. Philly might be a little bit safer, maybe not with the way James has been playing. Kicker, let's go for Tyler Bass. A little cheaper there too. So I have $5,600 per player. All right, what about let's go to tight end. So either I've got.
Oh yeah, you're cooking.
All right, I don't. Let's go to Kincaid for the moment. I might come back up to Goddard because I want to use V for victory. I don't want a player who's gonna lose here. Although obviously Kelsey's still the best. So then flex. If I've taken Kincaid, okay, so I can still afford
Anybody.
anybody. So given my build, I probably want Devonta Smith here.
Okay.
It's going to leave me a little bit of money left over, which means $1,800. Okay, definitely some money left over. So maybe let's do this. Instead of the Buffalo defense, let's go for the Philly defense.
All right. You still got 1,400.
Instead of Kincaid, let's go for Goddard.
Instead of Bass, you should go with Philly's kicker.
Let's go for Philly's kicker. See how much we have left.
Still got 400.
I may or may not use it. Let's go for receiver. Was that enough to get me from Coleman to Shakir?
Let's see here.
I don't think so, but I just want to double check.
It gets you Amari Cooper. You're not quite high enough to get Shakir. You're about 1,600 away. So if you went back to your Kincaid here and your Bass here, then you could probably afford to upgrade to Shakir.
It's only 100 minus 100 from Elliott to Bass. So
100,
and then from Goddard to Kincaid, it was about 1,600. So you could probably afford Shakir if you like Shakir that much over Coleman.
I don't. I'm actually, again, let's just say I'm trying to win the tournament. Shakir is good. Coleman has had some monster weeks. So I'm taking a gamble, right? If I lose, if Coleman does nothing, my team probably is not winning anyway. But if Coleman puts up one of his big weeks, catches a touchdown or two, he could be like the difference maker. So, all right. So with that said, let's start with V for victory for cards.
So we have that in. That's 1.25 bonus on everybody that wins. If one of these two loses, that is a 0.75 hit. So you lose a quarter point on your score.
And if you hit, and if both teams win, then you're basically looking at like a 27-point bump to the projection. Because of this card, you don't know if they're going to win or not. You're not going to see that in your projection.
Yep. Precisely, right? So this is almost like ride or die, where you get the 25% bump on every player except your quarterback from the same team. But unless it's the Lions in the regular season, it's really hard to have one team across the board. Whereas here, it's almost like I've got that. And I also get it on the quarterback, so potentially a really big boost.
It's cheaper too.
Good point.
I tried this in the wild card round, and I got 4 points in total because I did not do well at picking the teams that were going to win.
It's funny. In some ways, I feel like it's a little bit of I'm going to put the term easier in air quotes because I could easily, Chiefs could easily win, for example, right?
Yeah.
as could the Commanders. But like, it's 2 teams. So I've only got to be right about 2 games. I feel like in the wild card round, there's so many games. You can have an elite team where if you're right on every game, you get a lot of points. But if you miss 1 or 2 of those, that 0.75 takes away a lot of the gains. All right.
So on these cards, you got $6,500 budget left for your power ups. You got $400 player budget. What's your next move, Chris?
Jump to cards for me. I want to see the running back cards. I want to see exactly how high I can get on this. I think I'd like to play something on Saquon. Home field, no, unfortunately, only Phillies at home. If I like the Chiefs better, I could also double up with home field advantage. I'm potentially really like Juice's team. Let's try maybe all-pro running back on Saquon.
All right, so that gives you a pretty big bonus there. According to this, it's a ×2 multiplier. So if he scores 30 points, you get 60. Pretty big bonus there. And $1,000 left.
Go to all for me. I just want to see go on the far left by players. You'll see all. So kind of show me everything I can do. Okay, so I can take the kind of automatic. Well, I can take a guess at 3. If I think these teams are going to win, I get 3 points if I put Seabird's confidence on 1. Or extra credit, I get 3 points instead of 1 for an extra point. I kind of like the upside there. So let's put extra credit on Jake Elliott.
Extra credit on Jake Elliott. All right.
If he kicks 3 extra points, that's 9 points right there, which is pretty good. So essentially every Philly touchdown, I'm gonna, I won't get the stack of Hurts because I'm playing Allen instead of him, but very likely with Saquon and Brown and Goddard and Smith to get hopefully the touchdowns. Let's say throw to Grant or somebody. So likely to get the touchdown and hopefully an additional 3 extra points from Elliott's extra point.
And if they score 1 touchdown, you basically match the other cards that you could have played.
And at this point, with a 142-point projection, which is elevated a little bit because of Saquon's double, so really it's like 120. At the 1.25 bonus, you're probably looking at another 40 points. So the total projection on this actual roster make is about 180 points projected. So that's a pretty solid lineup. The last few weeks it's been taking over 200 to win it. I think last week it was like 250. So you definitely need to hit there. But that's a great roster, Chris. I hope Philly doesn't win. I really want Washington to, so I hope you're wrong there. And I also don't want you to win because I think that's cheating. No, just kidding. But no, I'm really excited about it. By the way, guys, if you're tuned in and you just have if you have standard DFS questions or standard fantasy football questions, even if you have some dynasty questions, feel free to drop in the chat. We're going through this because we are doing the FF Advice Network Playoff Challenge, and super excited about that. It's been awesome. I think we have over 400 and something people registered in the tourney, so it's been an absolute blast. And this is the last week to qualify for the Super Bowl Showdown, where you could win $1,000 for first place. So make sure you get that roster in, try to qualify. So Joe, I've been watching you. You've been creeping up the boards. You've been in the top 50 every week, and I know you haven't finished top 5, but maybe you're tasting the possibility of a top 10 finish overall.
We need to go big, yeah, for sure.
Need to go big this week. So let's run through what your go big roster looks like. If
you're about to have a lot of expenses in the next 24 hours.
Yeah,
so
you
I think let's get to that extra $1,000. Yeah, let's put that in your pocket.
G.
Let's see what we can do for baby Jonah. We'll make it happen. So as I've said in the last couple of weeks, it's I think that the way that you have to attack this week in particular is through the cards. So if you look at people at the top of the standings week in, week out, they're hitting about 130 points, but then they're also hitting over 100 points on their cards.
So the person in first place right now is sitting at 435 points, an average of, 200 and, almost 220 per week, so pretty solid. Let's see. I see you there, Frick.
That's my little
there.
brother. That's not me.
Oh, that's not you?
That's my little brother. Mine's
So you're
like my
getting
Twitter handle. I
toasted.
should be, yeah.
There you go, 31. You're still not. You're still above me.
But you know what? If I would have hit on that burnt ends, you add a 30 to that, and I jump up the score. So screw you, Jared Goff.
Yeah, I mean, if you hit the 30, you all of a sudden go to 375. So you then at that point are sitting up here in 13th place. Oh,
so I'm looking at how do I hit 90 or more points from cards, right? So there are cards that we know that will lock in 30 points. So to me, that card, the card that's been running hot has been hellacious halfbacks. I played Derrick Henry, Jahmyr Gibbs, Saquon last week. That got me almost 50 points. Right? I don't see that necessarily happening this week. You could go with Saquon, Cook, but then who's your third? I don't feel comfortable with I guess you could Kareem Hunt, but they're splitting.
Or Brian Robinson. I don't mind that either.
Yeah. So that could be the card. I feel like maybe that's a bit expensive, but it's a great way to kind of attack that. I think another one that could go big is there's a card that's pretty expensive, but you get 3 points per target for wide receivers. So if you think that Terry McLaurin is going to get 10 to 15 targets, Tunnel Vision of Love, that could net you 30 to 40.
Man, PPR times 3. What's up?
No. That's per target.
Oh, per target. Puka would have just rocked that.
Dude.
Well, if you look at last week, there was a lot of people that played the Puka card, and it was basically every incomplete pass thrown to him was 2 or 3 points, and that cooked.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, I love the nuance of this game. It's fun. Yeah,
it is.
You guys have
so
done
much
a
of my
job.
brain since the playoffs started. It's
Yeah, well, I'll tell you the Tunnel Vision of Love card. Early in the season, we had a running joke. It was the Amari Cooper card, because Watson would throw to him 15 times a game. Now, there'd be only 3 completions. So it's a terrible, normal fantasy play. With Tunnel Vision, you were just penciling in 45 points every week.
Man, when Curtis Samuel played in Carolina, it would have been perfect for him because he was getting so many targets and he never got a catch. He had the most air yards in the NFL, or what are they? Realized air yards.
Brandon Marshall, back when he had Jake Plummer, wishes he had this card.
Facts.
All right, Joseph, start us off, man. Let's build this thing out.
So here's how I see this playing out for me this week. I'm going to play 2 cards that can score me 30 points. And then I'm going to play another card that I hope that will get me more than 30.
Okay, so let's go. What is it? So
my first card, we already talked about it with Jaden Daniels. The what's it called? The Mr. Relevant. I think that's a lock.
So you're going Jaden Daniels on players.
Yep.
And then we're going to go Mr. Relevant.
Yep. So I think with that one there, Philly blitzes a lot. He runs a lot more when they blitz. He ran for 80 yards, I think, the last time that they played. And just the way that he's throwing the ball, I think if they're going to have a shot, let's do it. If not, I'll live with it.
Love it. So right now you're sitting around a potential based on projections of 53, 54 points.
Right. Okay. So then Saquon, you can't not play him.
All right. So we got Saquon in there.
Okay. Now let me take a look at what we got from some card potential here. So one of the things that I tried to do last week that I failed at was that Burnt Ends is a 30-point card, but it's the cheapest of all of the 30-point cards that they are. It's only 3,000. Problem is, I don't think anybody's putting up 35 points this week. So that one kind of goes out.
So just let me flash that up so people know what they're talking about. So burnt ends is if your defense allows 35 points. So if you actually have a defense and they perform badly, they allow 35 points. This card is worth 30 points. So you get a 30-point bonus based on your defense allowing 35 points.
Oh, either Philly or I'm telling you that game's going to be high scoring.
I lack that confidence because that's what I said last week and I got burned.
That's why it's called burn ends.
Yeah.
All right, so let's
What's
keep
that
going.
all-pro one? What's that all-pro one? All-pro running back one.
So the All-Pro, that's a multiplier. So I think that's the
All
times
pro
2.
running back is a 2 times multiplier to their school running back score.
Yeah. So to me, the amount of points that you have to get for that, to me, I don't know if the juice is worth the squeeze. Okay, so the second one that I'm going to say is Unstoppable Freight Train. That will be my second card. It's 4,000. That's going to go on Saquon.
All right, going for a 30-point rush.
So I'm going for that.
So right now you're really sitting, if they hit, at a theoretically 107 points on 2 players.
Right. One that seems like would be Saquon friendly, but I think is hard for him to hit is Run CMC. So you hit 80 rushing yards, 40 receiving yards. That's another 30 right there. So that puts you at a potential 90 points if you're going to stack that on him.
So are we stacking that?
No.
Okay.
I don't know if he hits that or not. Okay, so those are going to be my 2 30-point cards. So now I have another 4,000, and it's like, all right, what do I want to basically do with that? The last card that I'm going to play, the one that's been kind of like lingering on me is Turbo Boost. So you double up on the rushing yards and rushing touchdowns. I think that Jaden could find his way into the end zone. So for this, if I'm looking at like the stats from the last time they played, they had 81 yards. So that's an additional like 8 points that you would get. If he finds the end zone, then you're looking at like a 15-16 bonus. So as I'm talking about it out loud, the less appealing that it sounds. It's like I'd rather go.
Your math was a little bit skewed there.
I think Hauck should have played that with his. I think
you get a 2 times multiplier on rushing yards and rushing touchdowns. So at 80 yards, he would have got 16 points on the rushing.
Right, but the bonus is only 8. So I get 8 from the just doing it, and then I get another 8 for the bonus.
And then if he scores any touchdowns, that's 6 plus 6. So I mean, yeah, you're looking at
But if I don't play the card, I get 14 if he runs for 80 and a touchdown. If I don't, I get 28. So that's 14 points that I get bonus. Or I could say Saquon, go do 80-40 and I get 30 points.
I think that's a good one with a Josh Allen. If you're going to run Josh Allen, I think that's the one you want to run that with.
So it was like 50-50 between like all pro or doing that and having a little bit of extra cash. So I think you're right. So it's a good call on Josh.
Yeah.
So what are we rolling with here? Are we doing are we going with that one? Are we going with something else?
Let's see. So the last one that I'm going to play.
Ooh,
you know what?
Golden Arm for Jaden might be, man. Fuck. Who was it who had 5 or 6 touchdowns the other week? 5. Who's the backup quarterback?
Oh, well, Baker did it, I think, the first week.
No, it was a couple of weeks ago. Some backup quarterback came in through 5 touchdowns.
Oh, for the Eagles?
Was that who it was? No, it wasn't Pickett, was it?
No, they had their third string guy come in because like Pickett threw for 2, then like broke his ribs.
No, somebody came in and had 5 touchdown game like 2 weeks ago, like 3 weeks ago. Like it was the last week. Who was it for the who was New York? Who's the Giants? Who was their
Oh, Drew Lock did it.
Yeah, dude.
Against the Colts in the fantasy championship, and ruined everybody's dreams.
Stacking your lineup, having Drew Lock who costs nothing, put that on.
Okay, so I'm going to go back on what I said. I'm going to play the all Saquon money game and run CMC, and I'm going to go for the 80-40 for him.
Oh, nice. Run CMC.
So that gives me a potential of 90 points, right?
Yep.
And so then at that point,
you still
knowing that I'm probably going to load up on other position players, the other card that I'm going to play, I'll have to do some quick research here. I'm going to play special teams ace. So every 5 yards that they have a kick return or punt return for, they get a point. If you look at the stats there were 2 teams that didn't really have a lot of touchbacks this year. It was New Orleans, and Washington. Washington was very good about avoiding Khalif Raymond last week. I messaged in our chat like it's itching me. I really want to play this. So I need to see who would be like the kick returner for the Eagles. That's who I'm realistically going to play, and I'm going to play that card.
Real quick, while he's looking for who the player is, let me see if we can get you guys a little bit of trivia here. So if you click up that special teams ace card again, this is one of our Super Bowl cards from like last season. The colors here you'll see are green and yellow. Any idea what this is an allusion to, or which player this was referencing as one of the special Super Bowl cards from last season?
Super Bowl. Who was he won the Super Bowl?
Little trivia for the listeners too, if anyone can take a.
Well, green and yellow screams Packers.
It definitely does.
Yeah, but they weren't in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
They weren't last year. This was a card for, but I'll give you, and you're on the right track with the Packers.
Oh. Is this like an AR-12 Aaron Rodgers thing?
No. This is. We'll give you one more hint. This is the only player to ever win Super Bowl MVP as a kick returner.
Oh. What's his name? Desmond Howard.
Yeah, there you go. Bingo. This is an allusion, at least, to Desmond Howard. We get a little tribute with the green and yellow, as it's kind of the special Super Bowl card. No one ran any back last year, so but definitely one. I agree. This can be really good points at a cheap price if you can pick it correctly.
So it's Kenny Gainwell.
So Kenny G's we're gonna put him, I guess, in the flex.
Yeah.
And then we're going to play that card, which, I mean, he looked pretty good returning the ball last week. So we'll play that on Kenny Gainwell. All right. Well, it moved him automatically in the running back slot, which is fine.
That's
we can
fine.
still pop somebody in.
Yeah. And then because I'm bad at math, I got to do kicker and defense next.
Okay. So defense, who do you like?
I don't. But if I had to choose, I would take Buffalo.
All right, so we got Buffalo.
Okay, kicker. Let's see here. I'll probably run with Elliott. I think that the over-under is higher for Washington, Philly, and I think that Philly wins the game. So that's kind of how I decide on that. I'll still play Kelsey at tight end. I just don't feel good about the other options. I will run with A.J. Brown based on the Disco call of being historically good against Washington.
How's that not stick in your head? If Disco says something like that, you've got to believe him.
Yeah, I love that dude. He's also like 6'8" and could kill me the next time I see him. So.
Stay on his good side. Yeah, it's a good idea.
Yeah, exactly. I think if you're going to play Daniels and you're in a DFS setting, I think that you have to play Terry McLaurin.
All right.
For the stack. I don't really love the matchup. And I also don't really like what I'm left, so I probably wouldn't do it. What do we got here? Given my decisions and not wanting to start this whole process over, I could see Marquise Brown actually having a decent game. They've been featuring him quite a bit as like a deep threat. It hasn't connected yet, but they've been using him kind of like as a boom play.
So theoretically, if you hit on your 30-point boosters, and then so that's 90 points plus, like if Gainwell has any sort of a decent return game, you're probably looking at a 200-point projection here. So we got Don Pla. It's lonely at the top in the chat. Says, what a name. Kudos. What a name. Question. I'm playing in the contest tomorrow for both games. Can y'all help me on the showdown lineup? We've been doing lineups the whole time. He said, this is what I have so far. De'Ami Brown, Goddard, Smith, Eckler, Barkley. So let's build that out really fast here. Love that lineup, by the way, Joe.
We'll see. I will either love it a lot or you will see me crying on the internet.
So let's see. He's got Diami.
Yeah, I don't hate playing De'Ami Brown, man. He's
been kind of nice in the playoffs.
Yeah, he's kind of been putting those 15 points up. Like I
Yeah.
said, if I can find players that can consistently get me 15 points that aren't costing a lot of money,
Smith, Goddard.
I think that was Seth's guy last week too. He was on the money.
Barkley, Eckler. Eckler is an interesting pick for that roll the dice card. I don't see him getting 30 offensive snaps. However, I do see him, potentially being effective. If he can get in the end zone, that one touchdown will bring you, an extra 12 points on top. So total of 18 points per touchdown if he can get in the end zone. So not about bad card to play on him, not about route to go. He's pretty inexpensive.
I think too, especially knowing that like Philly is going to be blitzing, they're missing their top lineman. Like the dump off guy is going to be a very viable play.
With this lineup though, like 25,000 left. I mean, Eckler was really cheap. Let's see if we can just boss this thing out. Let's see if we go like, I
don't think we have Dami in there yet either. It'll be another cheap.
Oh yeah, we don't have Diami in there. Let's go ahead and do that.
You guys are going to have me playing hellacious halfbacks again, aren't you?
No, I mean Diami Brown there. It's got a 10-point projection, so for the value, it's really, really cheap. I mean, you got 21,000. Let's go. I mean, you could probably fit in if you're going Diami. Let's say you go Jaden, right? Let's say in the flex you want to go. A top guy. You want to grab Cook, kicker. You want Butker defense. You can max it out. You still got 1,700 left. You save so much money going with Eckler and Diami. I mean, you could even probably upgrade Eckler there all the way up to Oh, sorry. Let me go back to
Brian. You can get Brian Robinson if you wanted.
Upgrade Eckler to James Cook and then still be able to get in.
Well, the other thing you could do
get in McLaurin, you could get in Kelsey. I mean, you're wide open on what you could bring into that flex spot. So I think Diami Brown was the key to saving you a lot of money when it comes to setting your lineup. So that's something for people to look at this week. It sounds like Don Pla, it's lonely on at the top, is already on top of it. He said one off them. Smith is Philly D. Yeah, I mean, you've got tons of options. Killing it there. You've mentioned hellacious halfbacks, so let's run a lineup with hellacious halfbacks and just see what that looks like. And if there's a value to be had there. And I've been running hellacious halfbacks, and even for let's do this. So we got Barkley and Cook as our top two guys in the running back room, and then we had a question. We had Brent Bradford coming down loving this. We had BHS Cardinal said, "What play?" Or no, sorry, that's not the right one. Brent Bradford came in and said, "Do we like Hunt or B-Rob this week?" So you guys give me your analysis. Which one are you going? We're going to put one of them in the flex. Who's most likely to have the biggest game?
Probably Brian Robinson. I mean, Kareem Hunt's going to be that boomer bust kind of guy. I think he's the one who he'll get like one or two great runs and one of them becomes a touchdown. You probably get 11 to 15 points out of him.
Hunt's very touchdown dependent. Robinson can get touchdowns, but he at least has some games where he gets good yardage too.
Appreciate you, Don Pla. Make sure you let anybody know to join playoff.ffadvice.com. So we're going to go with this, and then let's run with our card that's been a fan favorite this year, hellacious halfbacks. Your quarterback gets a 0.25 multiplier. So if they score 20 points, they only get 5, while your running backs get a 1.75 multiplier. So they almost get double their score across your whole lineup.
I think that's 2-minute drill.
Sorry.
There's one up. Yeah. Mechanics was right. You read it right, but just
take 2-minute drill off. So we got a potential bonus at 36.9. Now we haven't put our quarterback in yet. So if I'm going to run this roster, if I'm going to run this roster, I want to pick a quarterback that I think is going to have is not going to have the best game. And, if we look at the season stats, we look at how the Bills have played, I think Mahomes could struggle to move the football.
Do you think that even with Taylor Rapp being out, that changes anything at all?
I don't think it changes much for me. And this was saying, so the key is we don't want to lose a lot of points, but I have a bonus here that I think is strategic on this card. So let's say we go Mahomes, which means if Mahomes gets his 18 points, he's only going to actually get a quarter of that on the week. So if we play Mahomes, who's the cheapest quarterback, let's look at wide receivers. So I really like McLaurin. Let's go top dogs. Let's go A.J. Brown. Let's go McLaurin. We've got 9,400 left. Let's go ahead and knock out our defense. I really like – we're saying that Mahomes doesn't complete that many passes, so let's go Buffalo there at kicker. Let's say Butker if they kick a lot of field goals, which gives us tight end at 4,000 available. And we could easily downgrade, like if, like Don Pla said, he was like, he really likes Devonta Smith. If you go down to Devonta Smith instead of A.J. Brown, then essentially you can get whichever, you can go all the way up to Dallas Goedert, and we're 1,000 away from Kelsey. So let's say we go, who do we like better, Goddard or Ertz?
I like Ertz.
All right, so let's say we go Ertz. So based on this lineup, we're saying Mahomes may not be as effective. Now, I do believe that if KC scores and they score touchdowns, they're going to do it passing the football. So I really like this. I'm going to go down in my quarterback cards, and I'm going to roll with a golden arm where each passing touchdown by your quarterback is worth 8 points instead of 4, right? And card points are separate from your actual final score. So if he scores 20 points, let's say it throws for 200 yards, right, which is going to be 8 points and 2 touchdowns. That's going to equal, a total of.
So that should be 16.
Yeah, 16 points. Then you're going to get a quarter of that. So you're only going to get 4 points. However, if he threw for 2 touchdowns, right, then those touchdowns are worth 8 instead of 4, which means that you got a 4-point bonus on that. So you end up around 16 points for really almost the same score for an inexpensive card. So we're going to roll that on Patrick Mahomes to kind of get his score back up. And then, I'm sitting at a 144-point projection. I've still got a $5,500 card budget. So, let's go to all. Let's see what's kind of available in that realm at 5,500. You got VF Victory, all pro running back, 2-minute drill. I got bruising. This card screams at me. I'm going with a high take on the running backs. So let's say I go bruising bell cow and I play that on Saquon because I want a point per carry. And I think he's going to get carries. So let's say he gets 20 carries, it's a 20-point bonus. Pretty much I feel like guaranteed, and I've still got $500 left. At that point, I can either go a Seabird. Let's see what this actually brings. That's 1.4 at Money Capologist, so that's not as beneficial. Seabird Confidence, 3 points. And let's say we believe that the Eagles are going to beat or I guess, who do you think's the lock this week? Like if there was anybody that you think is guaranteed to win, who's going to win?
The Eagles, ELGLES or whatever their mayor said.
So let's say Saquon leads them. I'm going to play that on Saquon. That puts me at 168 projected point bonus, playing the hellacious halfbacks card, which has been a bonus. But we've seen even that projection is not as high as what we've gotten from some of the other roster build-outs. So maybe you're right on that, Joe. Maybe this isn't the week for that card. But I think if you were going to play it, this is probably the closest roster that you can get. Any different takes? Anybody you would swap out on this?
I would take out Smith and put in A.J. Brown probably.
So if you do that, you have to diminish another position.
I would but then I would start like manipulating with like the the other pieces. The other thing that we've done in previous weeks that's worked out pretty well for us is it's like I don't really feel good about any of the defenses, so like I just wouldn't play one.
So let's say we go.
Legitimate call.
Let's do that. Let's say we take out defense. We go with B-Rob there, which in this, the key there is in this format, you do not have to play a position. So, like for example, if I didn't want to hurt my score with the quarterback, I could not play Mahomes, and then I could top out my entire roster the other way, right?
Yep.
Play the top players at each position across the board and potentially win. Or if I think that I'm going to win better with like Mahomes, or let's say I don't go Mahomes, let's say I even go up to like, if we've got Kelsey in there, I could go up to Jalen, but let's say we go Mahomes. I could run this roster without a defense or defensive points. And, potentially, let's see, let me add that back, those cards back on for Mahomes.
I think, yeah, you had it on Mahomes, and then you had that would have been it. Yeah.
So I could run no defense and then upgrade, essentially from Ertz to Kelsey if I think Kelsey's going to have that much of a better game. So, the cool thing I love about this platform, and again, kudos to you guys, Chris, over at Smashup Fantasy, is that there's really no barriers, and you kind of create this room for the mind to get creative and go out in left field and do wild things and, potentially put some killer lineups together. And, I think it was week I know in the Champions League, it was like the first place person didn't play a quarterback the first week. So, like, there's been rosters that have won this way. Which is cool that you give people the freedom to play it that way. I would love, JC, as you lean into the last week and you kind of have a larger, understanding of how Smash Up specifically works. Are you pumped? How you feeling about it? You're muted. I don't hear you.
Sorry about that. Yes. Yeah. Now is that I understand about the cards and how they work. I think, I'm going to attack it a little bit differently, but yeah, I wish I would have known that a little bit more. That's my fault for not really digging in a little bit deeper. When I saw it, like I just assumed when all this stuff on the side was red, it's like, I can't use it. I'm like, oh shit. It's like everyone gets to use cards and I can't.
Right, JC, we're picking on you, man. You can't win. No,
that's okay.
I'm just kidding.
At some point, we might need the flexibility to let you put a card in a slot before you have the player. But yeah, as of now, you've got to sign a card to a player, so it's UI for the moment. But hopefully, you qualify for the Super Bowl showdown, so we can hear about your lineup there.
I don't know, man. He knows a lot about DFS. This doesn't bode well for me and my chances.
Oh yeah, he's on the DFS train. We got Don Placid. Do you guys think Allen will use his legs more this game at all or nothing? I don't think that there's a game that Allen doesn't use his legs. He's used them in every single game. He's had a rushing touchdown. Every week,
3 last week.
Like if they get within the line, it's almost like that Jalen Hurts tush push guarantee. Yep. Like if they would rather put it in Josh Allen's hands from the 3-yard line than they would Ray Davis or James Cook or anybody like that. And I think Josh Allen would rather put it in his hands from even 10 yards out than he would anybody else's. So, I don't think that's a bad thought. I think he probably does use his legs, and I think we see at least one rushing touchdown from him this week. And then Michael coming in the chat. Hey, guys, looking forward to a great championship weekend of football and tournaments.
Meatball.
Appreciate you, Meatball. Always coming in strong. Look, that's going to wrap it up. Again, if you're watching right now, it is your last chance to enter into the playoff challenge for a shot at a G. Now, we do have payouts this week. This week, the top 5 will pay out. 200 to first, 100 to second, 50 to third, and 25 to fourth and fifth. So the top 5 payout. And then you qualify for the championship round. We got Michael showing a little love. Appreciate you. Good luck to all my FFAN brothers this week. Who scores more points this week, Allen or Mahomes? Thank you, guys. JC,
I'm
DFS.
just gonna
Who
say
scored more, Allen or
I
Mahomes?
think Mahomes scores the least amount of points out of all the quarterbacks this week.
Love it. Jerry, thank you guys for doing this. Great show. Hey, glad to do it. We used to do the NFL playoff challenge every year for the playoffs, and it got really popular, and we did really well with it. And then when NFL.com took it away, we were looking for something to replace it with. And this was what we filled it in. We partnered with Smashup Fantasy, and we brought this tournament in. And for year one, I think we did pretty good. There's over 400 people in the tournament. I think next year it grows even beyond that. But it's killer. And I love being able to provide something for people during the playoffs where you can still get your fantasy, play in, and you don't have to completely switch over to Dynasty yet, right? Like we don't, even though it's already happening, we don't have to switch over to Dynasty yet. We can enjoy a little DFS. We can enjoy, following these playoffs and still rooting for our players to score and have big weeks. And so, Chris, you guys over at Smash Up, thank you so much for that, for our community. And looking forward to seeing what this week and then what Super Bowl week looks like. Super Bowl week's going to be crazy. 2 teams, unlimited. You've got the cards, you've got the players. You're going to have 25 people competing for $1,000 and a championship ring. Looks something like this. And I'm pumped to see how that works out. So we'll finish it up there. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you next week for the pre-Super Bowl showdown. We will highlight all the users that made it into the Super Bowl challenge or the Super Bowl showdown.
Nice.
And we will see you then. Thanks again for tuning in, and you guys have a great night.
Thank you all, and thank you, Michael. Appreciate y'all.
We are here. FantasySportsAdvice.com, offering the best fantasy sports social media platform. Why join endless Discord communities or the trolls of Reddit? Fantasy Sports Advice is a community designed to help you win with 24/7 support. Go to FantasySportsAdvice.com and become a pro member for unlimited access. Again, go to FantasySportsAdvice.com.